When Janice gave birth to a beautiful girl, everything seemed to go fine, until one day she heard her husband screaming from the baby's room. Janice quickly rushed to her little princess to see what was going on. When she saw what was happening, she completely froze. She had no idea how to react. Her husband looked at her, knowing they had to go to the doctor as quickly as possible. Janice was standing right next to her husband when Alice opened her eyes. But before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe, and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new story. Alice immediately started crying as well. Janice was staring right into the complete blue eyes of her daughter. This can't be good. Janice panicked, but her husband Dan tried to calm her. He said they needed to call the doctor quickly and that he would take it from there. How can he be so calm? Janice grabbed her phone and tried calling the doctor, but she was extremely shaken. That is when Dan calmly grabbed her phone and called the doctor. Dan started telling the doctor what was going on. He was on speaker, and he sounded completely in disbelief. The last time Alice was checked, there was nothing wrong with her. He asked them what exactly they had seen. Janice tried explaining that her eyes had turned completely blue without any pupils, but she was so hysterical that Dan had to repeat everything again. The doctor was silent for a moment. He wasn't sure what this could be. Janice grew even more stressed. The doctor still had not given them anything that they could work with. Luckily, he told them that he would clear his schedule and that they could come as fast as possible. They wasted no time rushing to the hospital. When arriving at the hospital, Janice picked Alice up, and before Dan realized where Janice had already run off to the doctor. When arriving at the desk, Janice was told to wait. There was an emergency that the doctor had to go to, so she would be helped right after. This is when Janice felt her heart pounding even harder in her chest. "Are you serious?" She screamed. Dan heard Janice scream, so he quickly ran over to her. Because Janice was screaming, Alice started crying, which made Janice even more nervous. She could not handle all the pressure. She felt like she was losing her doctor. Without thinking, she went up to the desk again. Janice did not care about anyone else. She demanded to see the doctor immediately. She felt like this was more urgent than whatever he was doing at the moment. The receptionist did not know what was truly going on. She felt like Janice was going insane. Janice pointed at Alice's eyes, upon which the receptionist gasped. Even more, people now witnessed this whole scene that Janice was causing. The doctor's assistant was now arriving at the scene. He was called in to calm everyone down. He told Alice that everything would be all right. The doctor was going to come very quickly. He took Janice aside to assure her that everything would be fine. Janice started explaining that she felt extremely powerless. Something was wrong with her baby, and she did not know what was going on. The assistant said that they are taking it very seriously. Janice started crying again, but luckily the doctor showed up. The doctor apologized for the inconvenience and assured Dan and Janice that he would do everything possible to ensure their daughter was all right. When entering the office, Janice finally calmed down, but more trouble soon began. The doctor started to ask a whole bunch of questions. Janice thought this was extremely weird. Why wouldn't he just take care of their baby? She felt attacked by his questions. "Please just take care of our baby," Janice begged. Finally, the doctor turned to little Alice. At first glance, nothing strange was going on. At that moment, the baby was very calm. She was sleeping. The doctor had heard the stories from Janice and tried to make sense of what was happening. Then Alice opened her eyes, and everything changed. Janice saw that the doctor instantly turned pale when Alice opened her eyes. This can't be good. The doctor was lost for words. He did not know how to react. He did not even know where to start. He had never seen this before. Then he turned to Janice. He started asking Janice many questions about how she was feeding and caring for the baby. Janice felt like the doctor was trying to find something to blame this all on her. Dan took offense to that and told the doctor to do his job. The doctor was sick of arguing with the couple and decided it was best to carry the baby away to the lab. Maybe someone there could have a second opinion or know what is happening with her. This decision would only raise more questions. When carrying the baby away, she started to cry louder the further she was taken from Janice. Janice was told that she could not follow the doctor. The lab is off limits. When the doctor finally reached the lab and put the baby down, a second doctor came in to see what all the commotion was about. Alice had her eyes closed the entire time. The doctors could not force them to open. Then, after waiting for just a little bit, Alice opened her eyes. The second doctor gasped. It was like he knew something more. "No way, this can't be it!" he screamed. He did not really know what was happening, but he felt he had seen this before. He asked where Janice was and instantly rushed to her to ask her for more clarifying answers. The other doctor immediately rushed to Janice. He had no time to waste. He had to get the right answers for Janice, or it would be too late. He just hoped that she would be open enough to confirm his suspicions. Only that way could he help cure Alice. Janice and Dan were confused when the other doctor entered the office and immediately bombarded them with questions. Janice felt really overwhelmed by what was happening. The doctor could see that and asked if Dan could leave the room. The doctor explained that he needed to get some answers from Janice about what was happening during the pregnancy. He needed some specific information if Janice had done something irresponsible or if there was something off. Then Janice started talking. Janice said that she was feeling sick one time during her pregnancy. At the time, it went from bad to worse and she had to get to the hospital. The doctor said that the baby was perfectly healthy, but now Janice started doubting their results. The doctor looked back at the old test results. It was very interesting to see what they had found and what caused the sickness. Upon reading further, the doctor turned to Janice. He told her that she had to come clean. She was definitely keeping things from him. After reading the test results, the doctor knows for sure that Janice was keeping personal things from him. He urged her to tell the truth about her past. This could definitely help with getting Alice healthy again. Janice sighed, but eventually gave in. Janice started telling the doctor about her personal lifestyle before and during the pregnancy. She was a real party girl. She did not think this could affect her baby so much. During her pregnancy, she becomes sick thanks to this. The doctor questioned whether this could be the reason Alice's eyes turned completely blue. It could have several reasons, but now he knows why Janice was taken in. Her liver had taken a big hit and she was dehydrated during her pregnancy, but he needed to run more tests. The doctor asked permission to run a blood test on Alice. This is the only way they could determine the change in eye color. Janice did not hesitate for a moment. She was already feeling guilty, so she immediately agreed. Dan came back into the office, and he was asked to keep Janice calm. She was almost hyperventilating. She needed to take care of herself. The doctor told her their baby was in good hands. Then some rough news came. To successfully run some tests, their baby needed to stay during the night. Janice agreed at first, but then she got told she wasn't allowed to go near Alice or even stay at the hospital at all. It could even take a full week to get definitive results. Janice demanded to see her baby before she went away. Since none of the doctors trusted her, they told her she couldn't see her at all. Alice was already undergoing some tests, and Dan had to drag Janice away, who did not want to leave. Then she ran off. She rushed towards the hospital wing where Alice supposedly was. Janice had no clear idea where she was going, but she ended up on the right wing by some miracle, where she saw that Alice was just being transferred. Janice was stopped by hospital security because she entered a closed wing. It was for her own good that she did not struggle. Eventually, Dan and one of the doctors caught up to them. The doctor was getting a bit irritated by Janice. The doctor demanded Janice leave the hospital and calm down. She couldn't do anything about her daughter's situation anymore. She could only make it worse by taking her away. Janice finally left with Dan, but this did not comfort her. That night, Janice could not sleep at all, and when she finally fell asleep, she had extreme nightmares. She woke up bathing in sweat. She could not handle that she did not know what was going on with Alice. Her motherly instinct kicked in. She kept waiting for days, but the hospital still had no new information. Dan told her that she just had to wait. Janice could not and decided she would start calling every day, to the frustration of her doctor. Janice kept calling the hospital so much that she was eventually blocked. Then she started calling Dan's number. The doctor told her if she called one more time, he would not even answer any of her questions anymore. Then, after waiting for days, she finally gets a phone call back. Janice finally got the call to come into the hospital. She immediately asked if they had found something to cure her daughter. The doctor did not want to give information over the phone. Janice had to come in with Dan to hear what they had found. The doctor sounded very serious and concerned. The entire way to the hospital, Janice thought about what could be wrong with her daughter. Why did the doctor not sound too pleased? Did something go very wrong? Dan and Janice finally arrived at the office. Dan was relatively calm, but Janice was once again extremely stressed out. The assistant told them the doctor would be right there, but even that was too much for Janice. Luckily, the doctor quickly arrived. The doctor took his seat, looked at Dan and Janice, and sighed deeply. Janice did not know if this was a sigh of relief or something else, but she was on the edge of her seat. She wanted answers immediately. Then the doctor started talking. The doctor told them they had good news. They had found the reason why Alice's eyes were turned completely blue. Then he looked at the couple and told them it would take surgery to ensure everything was fine. There would be no danger. Janice started blaming Dan out of nowhere because she thought the doctor hinted at a lack of care. The doctor quickly picked up on this and told the couple it wasn't any of their faults. He told them what was going on. Normally, blue eyes are caused by a lack of melanin. Alice had no melanin at all, which caused her eyes to completely turn blue. This only looked scary, but could easily be helped so that she never would have any problems anymore. Janice sighed out of relief. After the surgery, Alice's eyes quickly turned back to a normal blue color. Both Dan and Janice were relieved that everything was behind them. Janice had learned her lesson as well. She should be calmer when these things happen. She trusted more in her doctor more now. Alice grew up to be a strong child.